Get your hands off me. Maya's voice cut through the luxury car dealership as two security guards gripped her arms. Her ex-boyfriend, Derek, stood in the doorway, arms crossed, a satisfied smirk plastered across his face. Don't come back unless you can actually afford something, Maya. Some people never change from being poor. The glass door slammed shut behind her, and through it she could see the staff laughing. Her hands trembled as she stood on the sidewalk, not from fear, but from pure rage. She pulled out her phone and dialed one number. Honey, we need to talk. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. If you're new here, please like and hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, because this story is about to get wild. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. 3 hours earlier, Maya had woken up in silk sheets worth more than most people's monthly rent. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse that overlooked the entire city. Her husband Jin-woo was already dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost 5 figures, adjusting his cufflinks in front of the mirror. I can have Min drive you anywhere today, he said, turning to her with that gentle smile he reserved only for her. And take the black card. Buy whatever you want. Maya stretched and shook her head, her natural hair falling around her shoulders. I'm fine, honey. I'll take the bus. Keeps me grounded. Jin-woo walked over and kissed her forehead, his hand cupping her cheek. That's exactly why I love you. Just stay safe. Always am, she replied, squeezing his hand. After he left for his business meetings, she knew better than to ask too many questions about what her husband really did. Maya got ready. She chose her usual outfit: simple jeans, a plain white t-shirt, sneakers, and a denim jacket. She pulled her hair into a casual ponytail and applied minimal makeup. Looking in the mirror, she saw exactly what she wanted to see. A regular woman. Someone you'd pass on the street without a second glance. This was Maya's choice. Despite being married to Jin-woo Park, the man who controlled half the city's underground operations and had legitimate businesses worth billions, she refused to flaunt it. She remembered too well what it felt like to be broke, to worry about rent, to count pennies for groceries. Wealth hadn't changed who she was at her core. She still volunteered at the homeless shelter on Thursdays, still took public transportation, still shopped at regular stores. To her, real power was being able to move through the world without proving anything to anyone. The bus ride to the dealership took 40 minutes. She'd been thinking about buying a car lately, not for status, but for convenience. The volunteer work sometimes ran late, and the buses stopped running after midnight. Something practical, reliable. She'd done her research, and Elite Motors had good reviews. When she walked into the showroom, the immediate smell of leather and new car scent hit her. Gleaming vehicles sat under perfect lighting like pieces of art. Well-dressed salespeople moved between customers who looked like they belonged there. Designer handbags, expensive watches, tailored suits. Maya approached the reception desk. Hi, I'd like to speak with someone about purchasing a sedan. The receptionist looked her up and down, taking in her casual outfit. Do you have an appointment? No, but we typically work by appointment for serious buyers, but you can browse, and if one of our sales associates is free, they might be able to help you. The dismissiveness stung, but Maya kept her composure. Thank you. She walked toward the sedan section, genuinely interested in a sleek silver model. She was reading the specs on the window sticker when she heard a voice that made her blood run cold. Maya? Maya Johnson? Oh my God, is that really you? She turned slowly. Derek Thompson stood 15 feet away, and he looked exactly like the man who'd walked out of her life 5 years ago. Except now he wore an expensive suit and had the confidence of someone who thought he'd made it. His eyes scanned her outfit, and she saw the exact moment judgment settled into his expression. Derek, she said simply, keeping her voice neutral. He walked toward her, and she noticed other people starting to pay attention. Wow, it's been what, 5 years? You look exactly the same. The way he said it made it clear he didn't mean it as a compliment. I'm here to buy a car, Maya said, trying to keep the interaction brief. If you could direct me to a sales associate. Buy a car? Derek laughed, loud enough that heads turned. Here? Maya, do you have any idea where you are? Her jaw tightened. Elite Motors. I did my research. Now if you'll excuse me. No, wait. Derek stepped sideways, blocking her path, and Maya knew instantly what he was doing. He wanted a crowd. He always did. He raised his voice, smiling like this was entertainment. Everyone, everyone. The showroom fell into an awkward hush. Conversations died mid-sentence. Salespeople froze with brochures in their hands as customers turned, curious eyes locking onto her. Derek spread his arms theatrically. "This is my ex-girlfriend," he announced. Maya. Heat rushed up Maya's neck, burning her skin. Her stomach tightened, not with shame, but with anger. This was exactly who he'd always been, loud, cruel, needing an audience to feel important. "Derek, don't," she said tightly. "You really haven't changed." Memories flashed through her mind, endless arguments, public embarrassment, his lousy attitude, the way he thrived on making her feel small, just so he could feel big. And standing there, surrounded by strangers, Maya realized something with startling clarity. She hadn't lost anything when she lost him. "Don't do what? I'm just amazed to see you. Still dressing like you shop at thrift stores, I see. Some things never change, right?" He picked up a brochure from a nearby display and made a show of reading it. "Let's see. This sedan you were looking at? That's $150,000. The SUV over there? 200 grand. "I'm aware of the prices," Maya said quietly, her hands clenching into fists at her sides. "Are you, though? Because I remember when we were together, you couldn't even afford to split the check at Olive Garden. Remember that? Remember how I had to pay for everything? How you cried when your student loans were due?" A few people snickered. Maya's face burned, but she held her ground. "That was 5 years ago. People change. Now please, move." "Change? Really?" Derek stepped closer, his voice dropping to a stage whisper that everyone could still hear. "Let me guess. You're here to apply for a job, right? Receptionist, maybe? We might have an opening in cleaning." "I came here as a paying customer," Maya interrupted, her voice stronger now. "With respect, something you clearly don't understand." Derek's eyes flashed. The rejection of his mockery in front of his staff and customers wounded his ego. Respect for someone who's clearly still broke, who walks in here dressed like that, wasting everyone's time? He turned to his staff. "Did anyone offer her champagne? Because we only serve that to real customers." The cruelty in his voice, the casual way he tried to humiliate her in front of strangers, made something inside Maya snap. But she wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing her break down. "I'd like to speak with the owner of this establishment," she said firmly. Derek laughed harder. "The owner? Oh, that's precious. You want to complain about me? Go ahead, file a complaint." He gestured dramatically. "But first, you need to leave. Security." 2 large men in suits approached. Maya looked at them, then back at Derek. "You're making a mistake," she said quietly. "The only mistake," Derek said, his voice rising, "was me wasting 3 years dating someone with zero ambition. Someone who will never amount to anything. Now get out of my dealership before I have you arrested for trespassing." The security guards looked uncomfortable but followed orders. They each took one of her arms, not roughly but firmly enough to guide her toward the exit. Maya didn't resist. She wouldn't give Derek the satisfaction. But as they walked her past the rows of expensive cars, past the judging eyes of staff and customers, past Derek's triumphant smirk, she memorized every detail, every face, every moment of this humiliation. At the door, Derek held it open himself. "Bye, Maya. Maybe try a used car lot next time, something more your speed." The door closed behind her with a definitive click. Through the glass, she could see Derek high-fiving one of his salesmen. Others were laughing, already turning back to their wealthy customers, the entertainment over. Maya stood on the sidewalk, her chest heaving. A couple walking past stared at her, clearly having witnessed the scene through the windows. She felt exposed, humiliated, reduced to the struggling girl she used to be. But she wasn't that girl anymore. Her hands steadied as she pulled out her phone. She scrolled to Honey and pressed call. It rang once. "Baby? What's wrong?" Jinwoo's voice immediately shifted from business mode to concern. He could always tell. "Are you busy right now?" "Never too busy for you. What happened? I need to talk to you, in person. Can you come home?" There was a pause. When Jinwoo spoke again, his voice had gone cold. "Did someone hurt you? Just come home, please. I'm leaving now." That evening, Maya sat in their living room, still in her simple clothes, a cup of tea cooling in her hands. Jinwoo sat across from her, elbows on his knees, watching her face intently as she recounted every detail. She kept her voice steady, professional even, but he could see the hurt underneath. When she finished, Jinwoo was quiet for a long moment. His jaw worked, his fingers tapped once against his knee, the only tell that he was furious. "What was the name of the dealership?" he asked, his voice deadly calm. "Elite Motors on 5th Street. But Jinwoo, you don't have to." He was already pulling out his phone. "Min, Elite Motors, 5th Street. I want ownership. Tonight." Maya heard the voice on the other end protesting something about it not being for sale. "Then make them sell," Jinwoo said simply. "I don't care what it costs. I don't care what you have to do. By morning, I want that dealership, and I want no one to know I'm the buyer. Use the Park Holdings shell company." He ended the call and finally looked at Maya. His expression softened as he moved to sit beside her, taking her hand. "He had no right," Jinwoo said quietly. "No right to treat you that way." "He didn't know who I'd become," Maya said. "Who I married." "That's not the point." Jinwoo's grip tightened slightly. "He should treat everyone with respect. The fact that he didn't tells me everything about who he is, and people like that need to learn." Maya leaned her head on his shoulder. "I just wanted to buy a car. You'll have 10 cars by tomorrow if you want them. But first, we're going to teach your ex-boyfriend about consequences." Over the next 72 hours, Jinwoo's team worked like a precision machine. Phone calls were made. Pressure was applied. The Hendricks Group, which owned Elite Motors, suddenly found their insurance rates skyrocketing, their suppliers demanding immediate payment, their bank loans being called in. The room was quiet except for the city breathing beyond the glass. His wife stood near the window, arms folded, tension still clinging to her shoulders like a second skin. He crossed the space between them without a word. His hands were warm when they found her waist. Steady. Certain. "Look at me," he murmured. She did. Jihoon lowered his forehead to hers, their breaths mixing, the world shrinking to that single point of calm. His thumb brushed her cheek, slow, grounding, before his lips met hers in a deep, unhurried kiss. Not rushed, not desperate. A promise more than a plea. When he pulled back, her eyes were softer. "Safer. I've got this," he said quietly. She nodded, trusting him completely. By 3 a.m. on the second night, they were desperate enough to listen to an offer from Park Holdings, a shell company they'd never heard of, offering triple the market value for one small dealership. They signed by 4 a.m. Derek Thompson had no idea his world had just changed ownership. 3 days after the incident, Derek arrived at Elite Motors feeling good. He'd closed 2 major sales that week, his commission was looking healthy, and his staff respected him, or at least feared him enough to laugh at his jokes. "Morning, Derek," his assistant manager called out. "Did you hear the news?" "What news?" "We got bought out. Some company called Park Holdings. New owners coming today for an inspection." Derek shrugged, sipping his coffee. "Probably some corporate type who'll never set foot in here again after today. Make sure everything's clean, smile pretty, we'll be fine." He retreated to his office to catch up on emails. Around 10 a.m. he glanced out his window and saw a black SUV pull up to the curb. Not unusual, wealthy clients often arrived in expensive vehicles. But then he saw who stepped out. Maya. She was dressed differently today, still understated, but there was something about the cut of her clothes, the way she moved. And behind her, 4 men in suits fanned out, clearly security. Derek's first reaction wasn't concern. It was opportunity. She'd come back. Maybe to apologize for causing a scene, maybe to beg for another chance to shop there. Whatever it was, he could humiliate her again. Remind everyone who had the power here. He practically jogged to the entrance, beating her there. Several staff members were already watching through the windows. Well, well, well. Derek planted himself in front of the door, arms crossed. If it isn't Maya, back for round 2? Maya stopped walking. She removed her sunglasses, and Derek felt a slight chill at the look in her eyes. But he pushed forward. "What is it this time?" he continued, playing to his audience inside. "Did you think about my advice? Maybe applying for that receptionist job?" "Derek, move aside," Maya said calmly. "Or what?" He laughed. "You gonna call security?" "Oh wait, I am security here. I run this place." He gestured at the bodyguards. "Nice touch, by the way. Did you hire these guys on Craigslist, trying to look important?" One of the bodyguards shifted forward, but Maya held up a hand, stopping him. "Final warning," she said. "Final warning?" Derek's voice rose. "Do you know who I am? I'm the manager of the most prestigious dealership in the city, and you're—" "What?" "Still nobody." He reached out and actually grabbed her arm. "Now leave before—" He didn't finish the sentence. In less than a second, 2 bodyguards had his arms pinned behind his back, his face pressed against the glass door of his own dealership. "What the—" "Get off me!" "Do you know who I am?" Derek struggled, but they held him effortlessly. A second SUV pulled up. This one was even more impressive, a black Mercedes with tinted windows. The door opened and a man stepped out. Even Derek, pinned and panicking, recognized him immediately. Everyone in the city knew Jinwoo Park's face. You didn't control half the city's underground and most of its legitimate business without people knowing who you were. "Oh my God," Derek whispered. Jinwoo walked calmly to Maya, and his entire demeanor changed. The cold, dangerous man became gentle as he cupped her face. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine now," Maya said softly, touching his hand. Jinwoo's eyes finally moved to Derek. The temperature seemed to drop. "He put his hands on my wife," Jinwoo said calmly. "Not loud, just final. Make sure he remembers that mistake." The bodyguards didn't hesitate. Derek barely had time to shake his head before he was yanked back. A sharp blow drove the air from his lungs. Another sent him crashing to his knees. The strikes were fast, precise, measured punishment, not chaos. Enough to hurt, enough to humiliate, enough to teach. When he was satisfied, Jinwoo raised one finger. The bodyguard stepped back instantly, releasing him. Derek collapsed onto the pavement, coughing, shaking, his expensive suit ruined. Only then did Maya turn to him. A man in an expensive suit stepped forward, carrying a leather briefcase. "Mr. Derek Thompson?" "Yes. I'm Attorney Chen, representing Park Holdings." He set the briefcase on the hood of a nearby car and opened it, pulling out official documents. As of 4 a.m. 3 days ago, Elite Motors was acquired by Park Holdings, a subsidiary of Park Enterprises. Derek's mouth went dry. "Okay? And?" "Park Enterprises is owned jointly by Mr. Jinwoo Park," the lawyer gestured to Jinwoo, "and his wife, Mrs. Maya Park." The world stopped spinning. Derek looked from the lawyer to Jinwoo to Maya. "Wife?" Maya stepped forward and Derek finally saw it. The quiet confidence that came from real power. Not the borrowed authority of a manager. Not the false superiority of someone who needed to put others down. Real, undeniable power. "You married him?" Derek's voice cracked. "You married Jinwoo Park?" Inside the dealership, staff members had pressed against the windows. Someone's phone was out, recording. Derek could hear frantic whispers. "That's Jinwoo Park." "Oh my God, did Derek just grab his wife? Is Derek about to die?" "Maya, come on," Derek's voice turned pleading. "We used to date. This is just a misunderstanding. I didn't know who you were." "That's the problem, Derek," Maya said coldly. "You didn't know who I was, but more importantly, you didn't care. You judged me based on my clothes. You humiliated me in front of strangers. You had me thrown out like trash." "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please, Maya, we have history." "We have history," she agreed. "You left me when I was struggling. You told me I'd never amount to anything. You said I had no ambition." She stepped closer. "And 3 days ago, you proved you hadn't changed at all. You proved that you only respect people you think have power." Jinwoo spoke for the first time since the lawyer arrived. His voice was quiet, but it carried weight, made Derek's knees weak. "You put your hands on my wife. You humiliated her. Not once, but twice." "I didn't know." Derek was shaking now. "Mr. Park, please, I have bills. I have rent." "Like Maya had bills when you left her?" Jinwoo's eyes were ice. "When you walked out because she couldn't afford the lifestyle you wanted?" Maya turned to him. This was her moment. "Derek Thompson," she said formally, "you're fired. Effective immediately. Security will escort you from the premises. You have 15 minutes to clear out your personal belongings from your office." "Maya, please." Derek dropped to his knees right there on the sidewalk. "Please, I'm begging you. I need this job. I'll apologize. I'll do anything." Maya looked down at him, and for a moment, Derek thought he saw pity. But then her expression hardened. "You should have thought about that before you had me dragged out of here like I was nothing." She nodded to the bodyguards. "Escort him out, the same way he had me removed." "No, Maya." "Maya!" Derek's voice rose to a shout as the bodyguards lifted him by his arms. His feet barely touched the ground as they carried him toward a side entrance. "You can't do this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." The staff inside scattered as the bodyguards brought Derek through. Maya and Jinwoo followed, walking through the dealership like they owned it. Because they did. Derek was deposited in his office, given exactly 15 minutes. He frantically shoved items into a box, his nameplate, some photos, awards he'd bought. Through his office window, he could see Maya sitting at the conference table, surrounded by staff members who looked terrified. Jinwoo stood behind her like a silent guardian. When Derek emerged, box in hand, Maya was addressing the staff. "My name is Maya Park, and I'm your new owner," she was saying. "Things are going to change around here. First and foremost, every customer, regardless of how they're dressed, regardless of their appearance, will be treated with respect and dignity. Is that clear?" A chorus of, "Yes, Mrs. Park," echoed through the showroom. Derek tried to slip past, head down, but Maya's voice stopped him. "Derek." He froze. "Leave your security badge and keys on the reception desk." He complied wordlessly, setting them down with trembling hands. "One more thing," Maya said. "I want you to remember this moment. Remember what it feels like to be judged, to be humiliated, to be thrown out. Maybe it'll teach you something about being a better person." Derek couldn't speak. He just nodded and walked toward the exit, every eye in the dealership watching him. The door closed behind him with the same definitive click he'd used when throwing Maya out 3 days ago. Outside, Derek stood on the same sidewalk where Maya had stood, feeling the same humiliation, the same shame. But unlike Maya, he wasn't heading back home. He was picked by a police van for further charges against him. Inside Elite Motors, Maya stood and addressed her new employees one final time. "I know this was dramatic, but I want you all to understand something. In my dealership, we judge people by their character, not their bank account. Treat everyone like they matter, because they do." Jinwoo squeezed her shoulder gently, pride evident in his eyes. 1 month later, Elite Motors had transformed. The mission statement on the wall now read, "Respect every customer. Judge no one." Sales hadn't dropped, in fact, they'd increased. Turns out when you treat people with dignity, they remember it. Maya still dressed simply. Still took the bus sometimes. Still volunteered at the shelter. But now, when she walked into her dealership, staff greeted her warmly, and customers of all backgrounds felt welcome. As for Derek, word had spread through the city's business community about what he'd done. No one wanted to hire the man who'd humiliated Jinwoo Park's wife. He'd moved into a small apartment, taken a job at a call center, and learned too late that your character follows you everywhere. One evening, Maya and Jinwoo stood on their penthouse balcony, the city spread out below them like a sea of lights. "Any regrets?" Jinwoo asked, handing her a glass of wine. "None," Maya said. "Though I admit, seeing his face when he realized who I was, that was pretty satisfying." Jinwoo laughed, a rare, genuine sound. "That's my wife." Maya leaned against the railing. "You know what's funny? He thought my ambition was the problem, that I'd never amount to anything because I didn't chase status or money the way he did." "And now you own his entire world," Jinwoo said softly. "No," Maya corrected. "Now I own my own world. Derek was just renting space in it, and I evicted him." They clinked their glasses together, and Maya smiled. Not because of revenge. Revenge was cold and hollow. She smiled because she'd proven something more important, that real power doesn't need to announce itself. That true wealth is choosing kindness even when you could choose cruelty. That the girl Derek had underestimated had always been extraordinary. He'd just been too shallow to see it. If this story taught you something about never judging a book by its cover, hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible stories. Drop a comment below telling me what you would have done in Maya's position. Would you have been as graceful, or would you have gone even harder? Let me know. Because at the end of the day, Maya's lesson was simple. Treat everyone with respect. You never know who they really are, who they're connected to, or what they're capable of becoming. Derek learned that lesson the hard way. Don't make his mistake. Sometimes the people you underestimate is the one who ends up owning everything you thought made you powerful. And sometimes the simple girl on the bus is actually a queen who just chooses not to wear her crown in public. Remember that the next time you're tempted to judge someone by their appearance, you might just be looking at your future boss. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. I love you all.